Hello, 8th grade. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 42, which is all about solving percent problems. This is a lot of stuff that we've seen a little bit before, but we're going to get a little bit more in-depth into it. So the first thing I want to do is make sure we have a definition for a percent. So a percent is a ratio comparing something to 100. So comparing something to 100. Something to 100. So what that means kind of when we see a percent sign, when we see percent, I want to think over 100 is what I want to think when I see the word percent. So just an example problem, because I know we've looked at some things like this before. If I have 25% of 20, 25% of 20. So looking at this, the first thing that I think of, the percentage there means over 100. So instead of 25%, I'm going to take that percentage away and write over 100. And then the next thing I see is of, and we know that of means multiply. So we can cross that out and write times. And then we have the 20 there. So we end up with 25 over 100 times 20. And we can simplify 25 over 100, either using a factor tree or any other way you like to simplify fractions. And if we simplify that, we get that 25 over 100 is 1 over 4. For multiplying fractions, we need to turn 20 into a fraction. We know that 20 is the same as 20 divided by 1. So that's what we're going to put here. And when we multiply fractions, we go straight across. So 1 times 20 is going to give us 20, and 4 times 1 is going to give us 4. So we end up getting 20 over 4, and 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. So our answer here to our problem, 25% of 20, is going to be 5. And I know you guys have seen problems like that before, but we're going to look into a couple other tricks today. So one thing that I've shown a couple people in class how to do, but I know not all of us have seen this yet, is cross multiplication. So if I'm wondering what is 10% of 50, one way I can check that, I know that 10% is going to be 10% of 50. Another way I can look at this, 10% is going to be 10 over 100. And if I'm finding 10% of 50, that has to be equal to something over 50. So 10 over 100 is my proportion. I'm trying to find that proportion over 50 is another way I can look at this. And something I can do here is called cross multiplication. So cross multiplication is one strategy. And what happens when I cross multiply is that I draw a big X over the equal sign. And I'm going to multiply things at either end of my X. So I'm going to start with this line right here. And this has X times 100. So that would give me 100X because I have the X here. Goes down this line to this 100, so 100x. Then looking at the other line, I have this 10, down this line to this 50, so I'm going to multiply those, and I end up getting 500. So 100x equals 500. To solve this, we can divide both sides by 100, and we end up getting that x is equal to 5. And just to make sure this works, let's also do it our old way, where we have 10% of 50, so 10% of 50. Of, we can say, means times. Percent means over 100. 10 over 100, we can simplify to 1 over 10. Times 50, we can write as 50 over 1. So 1 over 10 times 50 over 1. 1 times 50 is 50. 10 times 1 is 10. And 50 divided by 10 is going to give us 5. So these two answers are the same, and that is a good way to make sure that our strategy we were using works. So something kind of strange that we're going to start to see with percents is percents that are over 100. And I know when you think about that right away, that doesn't quite make sense. Like if we're doing something out of 100, how do we have more than 100? But it's just a way that we can write things in math. So I want us to try what number is 125% of 48. And I'm going to do this both ways of solving it. So I'm going to start with 125% being 125 over 100, because that's what percent means. Of means multiply, and then I have 48. And I can simplify 125 divided by 100 to get 5 over 4. So now I have 5 over 4 times 48, and 48 is the same as 48 over 1. When I multiply this across, I'll end up getting 240 divided by 4, which is going to be the same as 60. So that tells me that 125% of 48 is going to be 60. So looking at it with the cross multiplication method of doing things, if I go in here, I can say that 125 over 100, and I want to find 125% of 48, so that means my ratio out of 100 here has to be equal to something out of 48. And I'm just going to put an X here because I don't know what that is. So now I'm going to cross multiply, so I'm going to draw my X here, my big cross in the middle of the equal sign. And I have 100 times x, which would be 100x equals 125 times 48, which is kind of crazy. But if we end up doing the multiplication there, we find that 125 times 48 is just 6,000 equals 100x. And to solve for x, we can divide both sides by 100, and we get that x equals 60. So it works this way, the same as it works that way. Up here, we see that's also 60. Down here is 60. That means that we are good to go. So one other thing I would like to make sure we can find, one application of this would be calculating wages. This is one I'm stealing right from the textbook. And it says that we have someone named Anna who receives $1,153.84 every 2 weeks. And 28.07% is removed for taxes. So we want to take this number, and we know that 28.07% is removed for taxes. So we're trying to find the net pay. So how much that gets taken away is going to be 28.07% of $1,153.84. So I'm going to take my 28.07, that's a percentage, so it's divided by 100, of, which also means multiply, of multiply $1,153.84. Now this one I would definitely not expect you to do without a calculator. So just to make sure that we get this right, I'm going to use a calculator myself, and what we get here is going to be $323.88. And that's how much goes to tax. It's a lot of money. But if we want to figure out how much that means she gets to keep, if she starts with $1,153.84 and $323.88 goes to tax, we're going to have to subtract that minus $323.88. There we go. What we're going to end up getting is that she gets to keep, it's going to be equal to $829.96. And again, I used a calculator for this one as well, just because it was a lot of very strange numbers. If we ever have this on a test or a quiz or something, I would make sure that these numbers would be easier to solve without a calculator. So that is essentially all I have to teach you guys today as far as percentages go. So what I would like you guys to do is to find that 59.5% of 17 would be one of the ones I would like you guys to solve. And I would also like you guys to find 315% of 21. And I would like you to use cross multiplication for one of those. So use cross multiplication for one of these. And I don't care which one, just pick one of them. Make sure you use cross multiplication for one, and you can use the old method for the other. Other than that, y'all have a great day. I will see you in class.